Well, the weather for the whole of the south of England will continue as it has for the next few weeks. It's going to be hot and moist, with temperatures rising steadily as time goes on. There's a chance of steamy moments as we move into the... sod it. We never wanted to do this. We never wanted to be weathermen and women making innuendos about hot atmospheres and drizzly countries. We didn't want to be child-friendly. We didn't want to bang on about being for over 18s only. We want to talk about our sexy adventures. We want to be lifestylers, leaping from bush to bush as we sail down the rivers of British sex clubs and mountains of crazy experiences. The cheeky purple mamba, the liquid silk pumped liberally into our hand, the rodeo classic brief harness complete with Tantus curve, the Enjoy Pure One stainless steel dildo, the hot octopus digit, the ever so short messages on Fab Swingers, the sexy friends on Twitter, and the mighty vanilla alternative. With my best girlie by my side, we'd swing, swing, swing.
Get in the gym or to your car. With our advice, you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. And talk about our sexy dates. It's getting hard for this to rhyme. Just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to episode 94 of the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name is Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent lovely, kind, wonderful messages about our last episode.
Oh, I thought you meant just to you then.
I thought that you meant. No, lots of people have been in touch through all sorts of different platforms, from email to Fab Swingers to Twitter. I'm not going to name them all. It'll just get boring.
No, a long list of things.
A long list of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit. But anyway, lots of people have got in touch to say how much they enjoyed the last episode, which is all about Mrs. H losing her mojo, and say that they'd been feeling similar too and had gone through similar things.
So me having a big old whinge.
Doing your big whinge.
I'm glad so many people could kind of relate to what I was talking about. It's really nice to know that I'm not going mad. I'm not my own.
I was surprised by how many men wrote to us to say that they were also going through a menopause.
Menopause.
Maybe, yeah. But it was really nice. And honestly, folks, thank you ever so much if you contacted us. And we really hope that you got the best out of that episode because we felt it was really important to talk through that.
And also with suggestions.
Yeah,
there was tons of really useful things I hadn't really thought about.
Yeah, ditch Mr. H, get rid of him, kill him.
You've been reading emails too.
Bury him. Yeah, I've seen.
Bury him.
Bury him. Yeah,
that's taken a really sinister turn.
It took many dark turns throughout the course of some of these emails.
Wow.
But most of them were very kind and very lovely. So if you sent us one of those, thank you ever so much. You are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No. Thank you very much. Anyways, we're not going to harp on too much in this little intro bit because we have an amazing guest that we want to share with you today.
Yes.
Mrs. H, who have we got with us?
We are going to be talking to Cooper S Beckett.
Cooper S Beckett,
yes,
from Life on the Swingset and many novels. Anyway, we're not going to drag this out. Mrs. H, play the thing.
We've got something that's just for you. Holy shit, it's an interview.
So, with us today, we have the delightful, the lovely, the amazing, the incredible Mrs. H. But we've also got Cooper Beckett, who's here today.
Also ran Cooper Beckett.
It's Cooper S Beckett, is that right?
It is, yeah.
What does the S stand for?
Sex.
Well, I mean, swinging.
Yeah.
Or just like Harry Truman, his S was just an S. It wasn't a name.
Or is it like a shortening? So it's Cooper Beckett.
Dylan likes to put it at the end of Cooper, so it's like Cooper apostrophe S.
Cooper's Beckett.
Cooper's
so like
Beckett.
it's the possessive of Beckett.
It sounds like it might be a monument. Last week, we drove all the way up to Cooper's Beckett. It was a fantastic sight.
It's a great monument. Worship it daily.
Thank you for joining us, Cooper.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So, listeners, we've brought Cooper on to talk to him about a lot of stuff. none of which we've really prepared him for. But we're going to...
Well, you've prepared loosely. I just turn up and look pretty as usual.
Oh, that's good. So you're
Thanks.
driving today then?
No, not at all.
Okay, fine.
But I do have a nice little intro into Cooper.
Okay, you're introing.
No, I'm not introing. I'm just telling you an interesting
Cooper.
fact.
Okay, please tell me an interesting fact.
My interesting fact about Cooper, right, is he has the nicest voice ever. Yeah.
But this is going to be really bad if someone's listening and going, no, he fucking doesn't.
He doesn't. No, he sounds like Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette
sound
is
like
what
Penn
I hear
Jillette.
all the time.
Absolutely.
Penn Jillette.
So, little short anecdote here. When I first met Cooper at Desire, I think I marched up to him. Bearing in mind we were both naked because, where we were. And I think I marched up to him and said, "Oh, you're Cooper, aren't you? You sent me to sleep at night."
Which, in fairness, is not what you immediately want to hear when a sexy woman walks up to you is you put us to sleep. Like putting someone to bed, that's different. But putting us to sleep,
I
that's
know.
okay.
My use of words was just not good. But I should elaborate that.
Please elucidate.
I will elucidate for my listeners. So Cooper has a series of books because he's really wordy and all that. And he's written some books. And some of them are on audio. And you've played these to me. And I was like, oh, who's this guy? He sounds like Penn Jillette. And you're like, oh, this is Cooper. He's written some books about sex and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to this because, sex.
Confusingly, I've also played some Penn Jillette books just to add into the mix.
Can you tell the difference?
You're spoiling my anecdote. So we were listening to these books. And as it went on, I was like, oh, this voice is really nice. It's really compelling. I could listen to quite a lot of this. By the time we finally met Cooper, I'd actually listened to, I don't know, maybe 24 hours of Cooper's voice. And sadly, yes, you do send me to sleep.
Well, I should also point out that we did meet Penn Jillette.
Oh yeah, but not. We didn't tell him the anecdote about Cooper's voice.
No, we didn't go.
No, I don't think he'd care.
Yeah.
Do you know you sound just like Cooper?
It wasn't he confirmed to be a swinger? Is that a thing? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
He is a Renaissance man. He is, he's just probably whatever you think of. I know he's kinky. I know he has a dungeon.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely has a dungeon.
I mean, he definitely has
I would be shocked if he wasn't a swinger, honestly.
Yeah.
I think so. But we were on in the background. I say we were in the background of Fool Us. So in like one of the first episodes.
The pilot show.
Yeah. So like season 2, I think it was, like after they'd done the first season.
Yeah.
And so if you're really staring hard through the crowds that run Fool Us, you'll see the bed hoppers.
Yeah. But we weren't bed hoppers then. We were just like unknowns.
Just
well,
pieces of shit in the crowd. Yeah. But we were there, which is cool.
But long story short, Penn Jillette has a great voice, and Cooper also has a very nice voice, and the two things were like synonymous for me. I was like, oh, I could listen to this all day.
Well, okay, that's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We've blown a lot of smoke up your ass. You better be fucking good now, man. I tell you.
No pressure.
No pressure.
You have a lot to live up
No
to.
pressure.
Clearly.
You are going to do all the talking.
So for people that might not have encountered you before, and if they haven't, like, where the fuck have they been?
Yeah, go and listen
tell
to
us
them.
about yourself, Cooper. Go on.
Where they may have encountered me, let's go there. It's I co-created Life on the Swing Set with Dylan Thomas 11 years ago, and since then we've basically we looked at it as wanting a place that we can tell people how to swing better. I mean, because I feel like I have strong opinions on how people can swing better, especially these days. But back then I felt that too. And so we thought, well, let's put together a podcast because we can pick up chicks.
Nice.
And we thought it wouldn't be a lot of work. We were wrong. But yeah, that's, I can't even believe it's 11 years ago. And then I turned my writing for the Life on the Swing Set website into the book, My Life on the Swing Set. I was real creative there and got people very confused. I've written a few other books on non-monogamy, and I'm working on a new one with Ginger, an actual introduction to non-monogamy rather than, another novel.
Oh, wow. When's that coming out?
We got to write it first.
No pressure.
No pressure. That's why he keeps looking over his shoulder. He's still typing. I can hear the Murder, She Wrote theme playing in the background slightly. So we met Cooper in like a year and a bit ago.
Yeah.
November 2019.
Yes.
In the before times.
In the before COVID times. Quite a way ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. We were a little bit starstruck, I'm going to be honest.
I was a bit drunk, actually.
That could have been any time. That would have been any time, to be fair.
No, I'm not going to lie. I was actually pretty hammered when I met him. I was like, that's Cooper. I'm going to go and say hello to him.
Why have you turned into a loud?
I was, because I was... I probably had like quite a few mimosas and Negronis by that point. And I was laying around on a daybed getting sunburned, as you do. And then cast my eyes over to the hot tub. I was like, that's Cooper. I know it is. Swaggered over to him. I was like, you've got a really nice voice. You send me to sleep. What an introduction.
Do you want to quantify that a little bit?
No, not at all.
No, you should do.
Why?
Because it would be rude not to.
Right. What do you mean?
Well, how does he send you to sleep?
Oh, because of his amazing audiobooks where he narrates his own novels because he's got some novels.
He's got some novels.
Got some novels.
Yeah.
So one of our first things that we listened to when we were doing our whole research about jumping into the lifestyle was Cooper's book, right?
Yeah. We had quite a few journeys we had to make, which took many hours. And in between listening to podcasts about swinging and stuff, we listened to his novels.
It's a ringing endorsement. If you need to fill many hours on your long journeys, plug it in with Cooper's novels.
That's what audiobooks are for, really,
we
to fill many hours.
Yeah, it was one of the few things I tolerated.
Hang on.
So really, that's the endorsement: is Cooper S Beckett is tolerable and will put you to sleep.
Hang on. So on these journeys that she's talking about, and I remember these journeys, we got to a certain point in the road and Mrs. H would make me bring her off. Now, I'm not sure if that's to do with
Wait a minute. You've just associated this with Cooper's voice.
Yeah. Is this to do with Cooper's voice? Is Cooper the instigator for me bringing my wife off?
I don't know. Maybe it's a trigger. Literally can't climax unless I hear his voice.
I really wish I'd known that at Desire.
Oh, dear me.
So I would have played things differently.
Well, maybe so.
Or said things differently, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Whispered.
Walking around with a loudspeaker.
Yeah.
Constantly
I don't know if
narrating
it would come across
20
on Bullhorn as much, you know.
Well, I've actually just commissioned Cooper to read me all the Harry Potter novels.
You say commissioned like there was an exchange of money.
Well,
I think commanded was the phrase that we should be using really here. Or at least asked nicely. So the reason we brought Cooper on was to find out a bit more about him, but also talk about polyamory as well.
Yes. Fascinating subject.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Why have we brought Cooper on to talk about polyamory?
Well, do you want to ask him that?
Well, we will in a second.
All right, go on then.
Okay, so some of your novels, I think, have kind of been based around the subject of polyamory.
Mm.
Yeah. In fact, we have one in our bathroom right now, I think. The title evades me, but it's got polyamory in it somewhere.
But there is polyamory in there.
Yes, see, I knew that.
Yeah.
I know that because I won it in Desire.
Hang on. So you're saying that Cooper has been awarded one of the rare bedhopper toilet books in the house, along with the Transformers toy buying guide and Retro Gamer Monthly. So it's a prestigious award.
It really is. How do you feel
something
about this? You've made it to the bathroom. Amazing. Okay,
It's the only book where the pages aren't stuck together. That's what I'm saying.
Oh dear me. Okay, right. Let's try and get some sense out of all this, because you're dealing with a wife who's had a couple of Negronis now.
I know. And this is why I was reluctant to make that second one.
Well, could have been magic, but all right. Let's start.
And you two are in cocktail mode, and it's lunchtime for me.
It's join the party.
That's the cocktail time, surely.
Desire time. That's the thing, right?
That's true. The key is just never stop drinking. That's how you survive desire. Just never
Do you know
stop,
what?
because otherwise then you have a hangover. Then you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you see, going to desire, I went to the gym 4 times while I was there.
Oh my God. I don't even know you.
But I still had a cocktail when
In your bottle, it wasn't electrolytes. It was actually just mimosas.
So I needed the reset, because it was fun times, but I needed to step away for a half an hour, and then come back into it, and also have that superior, hey, what have you been doing this morning? Lying by the bed. I went to the gym.
You're so Jedi, honestly. God's sake. So Jedi. Anyway, so let's talk about polyamory.
All right, okay.
Let's do that. Okay. So, Cooper.
Yes.
We thought it'd be really interesting if you gave us a little bit of context around not your journey, because, you know, we hate referring to journeys, but actually maybe just a little bit of context around kind of how you became non-monogamous, maybe?
Well, and the non-monogamy journey.
Yes.
It was so my ex-wife and I got married very young, and we had not had experience with other people. And like good American former Catholic Midwesterners, we didn't talk about wanting to fuck other people, but both of us did want to do that. And so we were in we were in marriage counseling and independent therapy, and both of us were telling our therapists we want to fuck other people. And our therapist kept saying, well, you should talk to each other. You should talk to each other, without telling us, you know, that your partner is saying the exact same thing as you. So you really should talk to each other. And when we finally did talk to each other, it was like, well, what do we do about that? Because before I really knew non-monogamy was still a thing, it was that you get divorced. That's what you do about wanting to fuck other people, because you don't do that while you're married. So we thought, okay, I guess that's where we're headed. And I was talking to a friend of mine. I had a portrait studio at the time, and I was doing a lot of boudoir and nude photography. And she said, well, you're lifestyle, right? And I said, I don't know what that means, but I'm intrigued. And she told me, well, it's swinging. I say, wait a minute, that's still a thing? That's still a thing that people do? She's like, yeah, that is a thing that people do. So meanwhile, my partner and I are thinking, well, we don't want to get divorced. And so I threw out, well, there's always swinging. And we had a good laugh. And then we thought, well, okay, I mean, what's the worst case scenario here is we try it, it doesn't work, and we get divorced. That's already what we're talking about. So really, there's no downside to trying this. And we got on Lifestyle Lounge, which was a big site at the time, and we sort of got bullied into our first date by a couple who wasn't having any of our, yeah, we should get together sometime. It's like, no, yeah, we'll get together Sunday night. We'll get together Sunday night. It's like, oh, I don't know if you're free, you're fine. Just we'll get together Sunday night. And so, yeah, that was the beginning of non-monogamy there.
But since that point, and clearly you've kind of explored quite a lot of different things, you've moved from swinging to something a bit more complex. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I mean, so when I first started swinging, I read Tristan Taormino's Opening Up, which is still my favorite book about non-monogamy. And the poly stuff scared the shit out of me because it seemed so dangerous. You know, like I could get the idea of disconnecting love from sex, and then you're having sexy time over here, but you're not fucking with the loving relationship that you're supposed to have, you know, just you and your partner. But then over time, first of all, we had Shirabi Katz join Life on the Swingset, and she was our connection to the poly world at that time. So she sort of inoculated us against the fear of polyamory. And at a certain point, you know, like my swinging was always close personal friendships with people. Like I wanted to have a group of friends. I wanted to be to have regular dates with people. So that was what swinging looked like for us. And so we're making these intense personal connections with people. And at a certain point, you have to recognize the fact that if you love your friends, really, what's the difference? Where is that line? Because it all gets very blurry in there. And at that point, I realized, you know, I didn't know at that time a single swinger who wasn't developing these deeper emotional connections with people. They didn't call them love. They didn't call them relationships. They didn't call them poly, but they were developing these connections. And all the poly people I knew were having casual sex like crazy. So therefore, it occurred to me that it is basically one thing with two somewhat extreme ends.
There's a bit of a scale, isn't there, between the two things? And
yeah,
I think
it's the spectrum of like hetero and homosexual. You know, everybody is pretty much somewhere in the middle. And then there are outliers. So there are the swingers who don't want to know people's names, who don't want to connect at all. They just want to go meet someone, fuck, and then be done. That's swinger extreme. And then there are poly extremes, which is the people who just want to build poly fidelity, which is two couples or a triad that they're basically monogamous at that point. And that's the poly extreme. But most of us are somewhere in the middle here. And what's great about that is that we can slide back and forth based on who we're interacting with. Because some people I do want to have a full-on relationship with. Other people I want to have fun, flighty, sex-based relationship with them. And what's great about where I'm at now is I don't have to choose that in advance. I can let it be what it is. And that felt really freeing to me when I realized that, because why jump out of the monogamy box into the swinger box? It's still a box. Why not jump into non-monogamy, which is a much larger space, you know?
It really is. But I think there is something around the lots of people come from different ends. So some people kind of put the poly hat on and that's where they start. And some people put the swinger hat on and that's where they start. And it feels like often when they do that at first, it's like, I'm never doing that. I couldn't do this for the love, and I couldn't do this for the sex. And I hate those guys over there. And I hate those guys over there.
Yes.
And that's something that we've really encountered as we've gone along. What's your experience been in that world?
Oh, there's first of all, no one oppresses like someone who's oppressed. And so these little communities of people who've spent their lives being the dirty friend, you know, the dirty swingers or those dirty weirdo poly people, they immediately turn into the bully when it becomes, oh, well, I'm not like those fucking swingers, or I'm not like those weirdo cult poly people. And it's an immediate gut reaction from a lot of people that my version of this is fine, but that version that's like 4 levels beyond, that's not fine anymore. And that's a shame, because that's true of the BDSM community. That's true of the fucking LGBT community. They do the same thing to bi people and trans people. If they're not lesbian or gay, they're somehow not oppressed enough or inferior, or it's all a lot of bullshit, and it's all just a way to feel somewhat superior to the other people. Honestly,
I think there's the feeling superior, but also I think there's a level of being afraid. And I think one of the things that when we started, and we started very much in the swing camp, if ever there was a phrase. It sounds like space camp. It's probably a lot more exciting than that, though.
We just want
it is more exciting.
We want
than
to
that, yes.
dabble a little bit, didn't we, with other things?
Well, yeah, but I think, polyamory and falling in love with people was actually kind of a bit scary, because we kind of were like, well, actually, the one thing that we want to protect out of all of this is our relationship. And actually, falling in love with someone was quite scary. But as we've gone on, what we found is that actually we do love our friends, and we do love the people that we play with often.
Sure.
It's not always the case, but you do kind of develop relationships. So we've kind of felt most comfortable in this sort of grey space in between. That's kind of, it's swing plus, poly less, whatever you want to call it, whichever one. But those relationships that we've developed that are kind of somewhere in between, where you can see people more than once and you can develop a relationship, have been...
I think I've kind of gone with this obvious revelation, I suppose, for myself, that actually I don't want to just have sex with people. I don't want to just have sex with people and then never see them again.
Right.
I actually...
Makes it really awkward with me as your husband, though. You got to see me again.
I think maybe I didn't really realise this until we were fairly established in what we were doing, that the sex meant more to me when there was a connection.
Sure.
And actually, if I just wanted to go out and have sex with someone that I didn't know and I didn't want to see again, then of course you can do that. Of course, there's a platform there for you to do whatever you want to do that just gives you that thrill. I don't want that. I find I want this sapiosexual thrill. I want the flirting. I want the thrill of a chase. I want to know what's in someone's mind. I want all that. I want the connection, and I want then to be the final bit, to be actually I've kind of got into your mind a bit now, and we've had that connection, and now that's what I want. I want this sexual thing. And I think that surprised me as well, that's kind of where the attraction lay for me. And part of me asked myself, what if the unthinkable happens and you start developing feelings for people because you've allowed yourself to have those intimate connections, those mind connections? And those were the conversations that me and Mr. H had, I suppose, from very early on in the journey. Well,
that's the conversation that everyone who asks about poly or who is getting into swinging is worried about that one thing, that what if. And, I get it, because I was worried about that too, completely. But what I sort of had started to realize is, monogamy, people look at it as though it's like saran wrap around their relationship. It's protective, but it's not. Monogamy is an illusion. It's a choice that we make. Then the choice is that we are only going to be together and we are not going to go out and fuck other people. That's what monogamy is. So if I meet someone at a bar while I'm monogamous, I may be just as likely to develop a long-term affair and then relationship with that person. And I think the problem with reacting based on fear is then you're clinging to an idea, and that idea is we will always be together. If you're staying together out of fear of losing each other, that's a toxic way to look at your relationship. And I found the same thing with the idea of needing each other. That's also somewhat toxic, because that puts you in the same category as I need to drink or I need drugs. It's a need, is not a want. It's not a desire. It's not a choice. And the thing about relationships that we all have to reckon with is anyone can leave at any time, period. We don't even need a fucking reason. We could walk out the door and never look back. That's the reality of it. And when you reckon with that reality, then you recognize that every day when you wake up, you are choosing to remain in your relationship. Every day you are choosing to be with this person you're with. And that is a beautiful thing when you look at it that way, that choice is something active. And so you're choosing to not leave, even if you find the mythical better. Because that's what we're worried.
Mm-hmm. For me, this kind of stems back to that sort of relationships take a fuck ton of work.
Yeah.
And you choose to do it. But that doesn't mean that choice is easy, but also that you don't put a lot of effort into that choice.
Right.
And if you nurture it in the right way, then great. But actually, if you don't, then you are at the risk of someone going, fuck off, I'm going to do my own thing as well.
Right.
And that's kind of been at the back of our minds. We like to put the effort in because it's good to do that. We feel like it's a really rewarding thing, but don't get us wrong. It is an active choice, and it is an effort that we kind of go to make the effort for each other. Because if we didn't, then why would you stay with somebody to a certain extent?
Exactly. Mm. And the reason most people do is because of inertia. And the inertia of, hey, we're married, so let's not upset that.
Inertia sounds like a really shit DC movie villain.
No, it's interesting because, society and normals will tell us that, we're drip fed to believe that we should be following the orthodox relationship. Mm-hmm. You grow up, you fall in love, you get married, you have 2.2 children, and you live in your semi-detached house, and you have this perfect, this is what your life should be because we're telling you this is what society is telling you you should do. So it's really quite exciting, and it goes against every societal norm that we know to say, no, actually I fancy other people. And actually, if you fancy other people too, that's okay. We can both fancy other people and we can both do this stuff. And actually, we're not broken. How about that?
I think there was a moment, though, in our sort of journey, and I hate the phrase journey. Anyway, in our progress or whatever it is.
On your timeline. There was a notable moment on the
timeline. And we met a couple, and we were about a year and a half in, and someone said to us, like, oh, so you guys are like poly now with them.
Yes.
And we were kind of a bit aghast at that, because it just it was like, well, no, we just like that couple. They're just...
We've seen them more than once.
Yeah, but we've seen them more than once, but also that the... I think for us, it was one of the first times when it all clicked and worked amazingly. Not just well, but amazingly. And our first year and a half, 2 years in the lifestyle and being swingers was a rocky road. So, gentle listener, you know, if you've listened to any of the shows, especially the early ones, you'll have noticed that we fucked things up a lot. I mean, it's in our fucking theme tune. We fuck things up and make mistakes.
If only you could remember it.
But, well, yeah, if only I can remember how to play it. But it was a moment where we kind of went, oh, actually, this poly thing doesn't feel as scary, because actually we feel like we're all on the same page and we're all connected. But someone saying that's what it might be scared the shit out of us, because it was like, oh my God. And they said, well, you love them, don't you? And we were like, you know what? We do.
We do love them. Yeah.
And we tell them that we love them when we spoke to them. And that was kind of a bit of a revelation for us, because we kind of we kind of always said, well,
we'll keep emotion out of it.
We'll keep emotion out of it. And if love starts to creep in, we kind of back away because we want to protect our relationship. That was our kind of the old trained swing brain. I guess, you get like lizard brain. Maybe there's swing brain.
There is. There is.
And that sort of kicked in a bit. But actually, the more we explored that relationship, the more it felt like that, you know what? If circumstances were different from where we are, and because, unfortunately, we don't live in the same place as them, and it's not really as feasible as a relationship in that way. But if we were there, then that may be a different situation. And that may trigger us to behave differently. But someone saying that to us it felt like a real slap in the face. We were like, oh shit. And we kind of, we sat down and no, we're not, it's not us. But the more we talked about it, the more we kind of felt, well, we love them and they get us and we get them. And actually that's a real thing.
It's interesting. I think it's almost like this amygdala hijack, where you've got this amygdala reaction of the flight, fight, freeze thing, and you're like, what? This is an emotion I hadn't anticipated. And I'm welcoming the emotion because it makes me feel good and it makes us both feel good. And it actually felt kind of normative to kind of sit there and say, we feel more than what we expected for a couple of people.
But what got me was that I think it really demonstrated that those other relationships that we'd had up to that point were fucking terrible. And it kind of really made you feel, well, actually, when it works, when it clicks, when it happens, when it snaps, this can be so much more than just fucking somebody else. This can be a real connection. And at that moment, I kind of started to think that the grey area in between was really interesting.
Yeah. So I suppose what my question, asking myself this and asking you guys this would be, if you're starting to develop feelings for the people that you're having these connections with, and it doesn't mean you want to move in with them and share a space, but it means that you're feeling more than just, oh, hey, you're free Saturday, let's have sex. It's more than that. It's kind of, actually, you're people that we want to spend time with more and more. And we've got those intricate connections now where we know about your personalities and we know about your relationship. And we've got this insight into, this whole jarry window of like, you've shared some info with me and I'm going to share some of my space with you as well. And you kind of start building these intricate relationships without even realizing they're forming. So I guess my question then is, what is polyamory then? Because I wouldn't, you wouldn't define yourself maybe as, oh yeah, we're polyamorous and we're in love with this couple,
right?
But actually, we've told a couple that we feel strong connections to them.
The thing is, you don't need to be polyamorous. That's the thing. We don't need to be swingers. We don't need to be polyamorous. We need to develop the relationships that work for us and work for the people we are interacting with. And the reason it felt like you were slapped in the face when someone said you're poly is because that relationship felt normal to you.
Absolutely.
And you didn't consider yourself poly. So when it was pointed out that you were poly, suddenly it didn't feel normal anymore. And that's the thing. We've coached ourselves to believe certain things. And so if two couples are going out and seeing each other weekly, and then suddenly it's we're having poly feelings for you, that could lead to the end of the fucking relationship because of the word poly. We love spending time with you is a whole different thing, but it isn't a different thing. Ultimately, it's the same thing. We're all making a certain level of connection with each other. And just like we don't have every person we interact with isn't our best friend. Some people are 6-month friends. We'll see them every 6 months. That's our relationship. Some people are, I need to see you every day because you are my best fucking friend. And why should intimate relationships be any different? You know, the lie of all of it is that sex changes things. It doesn't. It's just another thing you can do with the person. It's just another level of connection. You know, some people you go to camp with. Some people you fuck. Some people you skydive with. Some people you fuck. Some people you have long, intense, candlelit dinners with. But they're all just connections. And so if every relationship can be exactly what it is, it doesn't need to be expected to be more. And I think that's the fear there is if I say to someone, I want to have a poly relationship with you, they have the expectations of what that means. And they're already judging whether or not they can meet those expectations, not mine, because we haven't discussed what my expectations are. And so whenever I start a new relationship, and it doesn't happen often these days, this is what I like in a relationship. Just before COVID happened, I went out on a first date with a woman who was just starting to explore actually being open. Like she and her partner were open for their entire relationship, but they never really dated. So she was just starting to explore that. And so I made it very clear, look, I like someone that I can check in with daily. I don't need extensive daily conversations, but I like a little, hi, how you doing? Did you sleep good? I like that. You know, I like a date every other week or so, you know. I don't need more than that. I don't need to meet your parents. I don't need you to meet my parents, because ultimately when you talk about relationship buildup, all of us are thinking of monogamy. We're not thinking abstractly about it. We're thinking of that stupid train that we're on, where eventually one of us dies and the relationship's a success. That's monogamy. But if you look at everything individually, it's so fulfilling to be able to go somewhere like Desire and at the end of the week to tell people that you love them because you've engaged in a transcendent experience with them. To be able to share I love you is so amazingly powerful. And we are afraid to use it because of what else it implies. And that's a shitty thing about monogamy. That's a shitty thing about society at large. But it's especially a shitty thing about swinging, because we're already opening ourselves up and being so vulnerable sexually, which is a vulnerable space. To then cut off the possibility of having an emotional interaction with someone just because we're afraid of what might happen. I mean, we're all afraid of what might happen, but we can't live our lives based on what might happen.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, if you said to me 5 years ago that, you know, one day I would hear Mr. H say, hey, I love you to someone else, I might well have just like lost my shit and gone, no, we've been together nearly 20 years. He would never say that to anyone else in the context of a relationship unless it's with me. And
there is Yoko. I mean,
well, obviously,
there's always
knows
Yoko.
Yeah, exactly.
Yoko is number one. We know that. I am.
Know your role, wife.
I know my role. All right, jabroni. Absolutely. So, you know, 5 years ago, if you said that I might hear Mr. H utter those words to someone else in any context, I might be like, actually, that is a trigger. That's a hard boundary for me. I don't feel so happy.
Now just chuck it out to everybody. It's fine. I've said it so much that there's no value in it.
As we've kind of progressed and, you know, we've evolved in what we're doing, and, you know, we've absolutely developed relationships with people along the way over the last few years that I would absolutely say is closer than just casual sex.
Mhm.
You know, to hear him now say to people, "Hey guys, I love you." Like, actually, it makes me feel closer to him.
Mhm.
You know, it actually makes me feel I'm sharing something with him. And it doesn't make me feel threatened now. It doesn't make me feel like, oh my God, that means he's going to want to leave me and go and run off with somebody and have a relationship with someone else. It doesn't mean that anymore to me.
But it depends on the presentation of that. One of the things that strikes me is that how you present the I love you is really important as well, because I think you can present I love you as a group and as a couple, as a, hey guys, we really love you. I think that's probably more acceptable than telling someone directly.
People are doing that because they're caught up in the kind of, oh my God, we're doing something that society frowns on.
No, I think
or because they genuinely love people.
I think for us that there's a hey, love you guys are cool. But I think there is a genuine, hey, we love you as a couple, and it tends to be a couple. Because that's the interactions that we tend to have.
Yeah, great.
But one or two couples out there, I'd say that we do love really deeply. And I think, that we're very, very comfortable with. But I think that is a bit of a world away from me going out and doing my own thing and telling somebody else that I love them. If I was to do that, you would hunt that person down and stab them in the eyes.
Me?
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
You're saying I would stab someone in the eye?
Yes.
You're probably right.
Yeah, so say some girl starts messaging me and I go on a date with her and I went, hey, I love you. What would you do?
Stab her in the eye.
There we go, right? So I think there is, but what we found is that actually our experience and what we're looking for are those sort of couple connections. I think we err more on the swing side of things, but that grey area that's kind of a real deep connection and that where you can see people more often and that you can build those relationships. And that can turn 100% into love. But I think it's very much as a group kind of thing. I think for us, the concept of chucking ourselves at individual relationships probably feels too risky. I wouldn't be comfortable with that, and I don't think you would be. Hence the eye stabbing.
I mean, let's not restrict this to the optics. I could stab any area.
You could stab someone in the jugular or wherever you like. I mean, that's fine. They've only earned your hatred through my love, which is, a normal thing. But that's kind of where we've felt the most comfortable. And what I love about this is that you set your own standard, you set your own thought, and you go, you know what, this is okay. This is where we're cool. This is where we get the most value. We like having a core individual person, but as a couple, we like expanding those relationships, and they've expanded more than we ever anticipated.
I would agree with the anticipation thing. We never really thought this
anticipation.
I actually don't think we anticipated it would go. It would expand to those realms of feeling feelings. Oh my God, feeling feelings for other people. But it's true. I think it's fairly obvious now that we do feel feelings for other people, and that's not a bad thing. It's something that we've kind of explored and come to terms with. It doesn't mean we're in love with people, but it does mean that we've got more than a passing attraction to people.
I would say that most of the swingers I've ever met feel far more like you do than they will ever admit.
What is this thing you call love?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's because I keep going back to it's fear, and that's all it is. And we let fear dictate our lives way more than we should. And a lot of the greatest things that can happen because of free fall. That decision to be a swinger is free fall. That the first time you see your partner fuck someone else, you have no idea how you're going to react to that until it happens. Yeah. You may have academic thoughts of it, like, I would react similarly to in this situation.
It's a roll of the dice.
You have no idea what it's actually going to be like.
100%. It's a roll the dice, take your chance moment.
Yeah. So you are taking this huge fucking risk. And, you know, if you become a swinger, then it pays off tremendously. And like the best things in my life have come from taking massive risks, massive free fall risks. And that doesn't make me any more likely to take risks because I still am afraid of risks. But what I'll tell people is if you are listening to this now and thinking, well, I could never feel that way, I could never be comfortable with your level or my level, my challenge would be to actually think about how you feel about the people you fuck. Because you might already be at that level and you just didn't think about it. You didn't talk about it because you're afraid. And that's, you know, there's nothing wrong with wanting completely emotionless sex. I mean, I don't believe there is completely emotionless sex, but there's nothing wrong if you want just purely surface shit. That's fine. But there's a good chance you're already on your road here. And I think the best thing that could happen to the swinger community or the poly community is to stop recognizing them as independent communities.
I agree.
And start recognizing them as the spectrum they are.
It is a spectrum, and it is a kind of grey mix in between. And like you said before, there's an extremist either side or extremes either side, but the middle bit is it's not unpleasant at all. I think the problem for me was that it was a shock to realize that we were in that middle bit.
Sure,
But once you get your head around that, actually that wasn't so bad. I want to understand, Coop, though. So what's your current situation, if we might ask?
We've been in a long-term relationship with our third for it'll be 5 years now.
Wow.
Which is
congratulations
in poly time. You know, that just doesn't happen. So we're obviously very happy with that. But at the same time, like I go to play parties, I go to Desire. I love casual sex. I also love developing meaningful interactions with people. And the other thing about it is, I think we're so afraid of coming across as needy, and this is monogamy brain again, that we have such a hard time admitting how intense an emotional connection can be in a short time. Because like I can go to Desire and meet someone and spend a couple hours talking to them and know that I want them in my life for the rest of my life. I can know that there. And I can do that at play parties too. I can tell when I want to have a long-term relationship with someone. Obviously, I don't immediately say I want to have a long-term relationship with you because that's terrifying. And why would I say that? But I can tell when something is surface and when something is deeper. And I always will prioritize that deeper connection to surfacey. So, I mean, I always will say like, I'm right on the line because sometimes I'm swinger and sometimes I'm poly. But you can make the argument that I'm always poly if I've been in a 5-year relationship. But at the same time, you can make that argument that I'm always swinger. So really, that's what being on the line is. I judge every relationship independently. I don't know what kind of relationship I'm going to be in with someone until we're in it. Well, I don't know.
It's like any kind of experience, I guess. Until you sample it, then how do you know? And sometimes there's an amazing connection. And sometimes you think there's going to be the most amazing connection, and then you get together and it's just not. And something evolves out of that. And that's the thing. You kind of, you don't kind of know. But I think it's that being open to the concept of the fact that this could be more than just just a little thing. I think that's the important bit. That's what shocked us, I think, when we got to that point. It was like, oh, we like these people.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah, we didn't recognize.
And actually didn't really think that it would make us feel as okay as we felt.
I think the other thing to really put into perspective is, and something that we've learned throughout this journey, is that relationships shrink and grow, and they change, they evolve, and a relationship that was all guns blazing, for the first day, week, year, whatever, doesn't necessarily have to be around forever, and it doesn't have to. You can step away from it, you can come back to it, but sometimes that takes a while to get your head around that idea. And what I loved about the whole swinging piece is that there's friends that we'd see once or twice a year, and that's fine. That's for that couple, that's perfect. But for other people, it's kind of like we want to see them every weekend, and that's okay too. But you kind of have to get your head around the fact that that's how that relationship works. And that's how you feel about those people.
And that's the value of taking the lid off, because you're not stopping it at a certain point. You're just letting it evolve into what it is. Everybody finds equilibrium. There is a point where this is what this relationship is. And when I mentioned the we're in a relationship until somebody dies, that truly is the goal of monogamy, is that you will be in a relationship until one of you dies. It's the thing we don't talk about. But that is the end game, because otherwise, what other way is there for a relationship to end that's acceptable? Divorce? No. Cheating? No. Death is the only acceptable end in monogamy. So therefore, what we have to recognize is the value of relationships regardless of how they end. Like I've been talking about my ex-wife this whole time. There is not a moment I would get rid of from that relationship, because that relationship is what led me to where I am.
Yeah.
And without her, I wouldn't be non-monogamous probably. So therefore, that relationship had ultimate value far greater than just, oh, well, it didn't work out, we got divorced, which is how most people think of their other relationships. There's value in every interaction, and there's value in every relationship, no matter how long it lasts. And I think that the relationship to the death is what terrifies people about the word relationship.
I agree with you. I think I love that idea that actually there's value in all of these things and all of these interactions, because they're all a learning experience. And every time you go through something, you kind of learn, you kind of adapt. I think, in fact, we were talking about this very concept today about how, nothing, you can go through all sorts of dramas and all sorts of problems, but actually often you don't really learn until you fuck something up.
Yes.
You kind of need to, and even from a work perspective, which is what the context that we were talking about today.
It was.
You don't ever, it's great being trained. You
realize what you've had until it's gone.
Yeah. Also a Fraggles song, I believe. But you kind of, you don't know until you fuck it up, you get it wrong, you go, fuck me, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to learn from this.
Right.
And you chuck in. And that's exactly the same relationships. And swinging encounters, you kind of start off. And if you're really lucky, it goes great. But if you're like us, it goes fucking terribly for a long while. And you keep chucking yourselves at the wall to see if it sticks. And then eventually you kind of go, oh shit, like this is something more than what we expected.
You do know that we'll never, ever split up unless I kill you. Wanted to put that in there.
The collar that you make me wear that means if I go more than 30 meters away from you, then my neck blows up. It probably helps.
If you leave me, I will find you.
Oh, I know. You're like a really shit Christopher Lambert movie.
Thanks, babe. Night Moves. Everyone should watch Night Moves.
I'm sure it was Fortress. I'm not convinced.
It's fucking Night Moves. I'm telling you. That is the movie.
Oh, Night Moves.
Right? But chess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We had this conversation
I think
in the night.
there's a serial killer in it, I think.
He absolutely was. Mr. H is like, nah.
No,
never heard of this
I'm
movie.
thinking of the weird film where they all wear neck collars, and if they go more than
That's
however
Battle
many.
Royale.
No, that's not Battle Royale. There was another film where that
Oh,
happened.
good
It's
grief.
not like an original concept. I'm going to be honest.
it was not.
Well,
Not even
anyway, for the purposes of this episode, we're talking about Christopher Lambert in Night Moves.
For the purposes of me editing the podcast, I'm going to be right.
Oh, bringing the editing out. Uh-oh.
I'd say it was the big guns, but I've not been able to go
Just
to the
to
gym for a
reiterate,
while.
if you ever leave me, I will find you.
I know. And
Well, I will take us back to what you were saying about fucking up and being that's the great value. It is just like working out. You're tearing your muscles.
100%.
You're damaging your muscles in order to build them up. So everything we do, we are ultimately damaging our idea of ourself from yesterday into our idea of ourself today. And recognizing that as evolution is fine, as emotional growth is fine, and you're not finished. That's the most important thing I learned in non-monogamy was when I got married, I thought, this is me now.
Mhm.
This is me forever. Because that's what I was led to believe.
Yeah.
You know, movies end with they get together and that's it. That's the movie. So therefore, they never grow and change and evolve because that's not the story.
If only there was a good movie that showed this in a really positive light.
And that's what I was saying. You know, society drip feeds you into this lullaby that monogamy is the orthodox way. That's what you should do. You should fall in love. You should have your happily ever after, and that's what you should have. And you should be happy with your lot in life because that's actually what you should do. But it doesn't, it doesn't counter for the fact that actually it's okay to fancy other people.
But this is the thing for me is that there's that step, and then you kind of go up a bit, and the next level is kind of okay. I've chosen my camp. I'm in the poly camp. The swinging camp, and really it's the same thing, just a little bit tweaked.
Yeah.
And if everyone can kind of get on the same page, actually it's not that different and it's all okay and it's fine, then there's so much more power behind everybody to kind of convince all of the people that are muggles that this is fine and this is acceptable and exciting and fun and something people should try.
And that's the thing I've been preaching since the beginning is we are all similar enough, even if you don't want to go with swinging and poly are the same thing, we're similar enough that we should be on the same side of the argument. The argument is against the deviants, and the deviants are us. So therefore, the deviants can stand together, or they can throw each other down in the mud, which is what we do right now.
I think I'm contractually obliged at this point to say, and the more people that are on the side of the deviants, the more choice there is for everybody.
You make it sound like a cult.
That's very true.
It's like a
One
cult.
of us.
I need to, at this point, I think I wanted to just very briefly touch on something that I heard in the very early days of me listening to Cooper's audiobooks.
Oh.
Something that really, really struck a chord with me, and actually I think back to quite a lot, and that's the analogy you used about Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to give that to your listeners?
You can, but no, absolutely. I want you to expand on that. But for me, when I listened to it, it was so relevant because you made this point that guess what? You don't get to play with anyone if you don't just take a leap of faith. So,
I like the way you said, no, Coop, you don't need to I want you to explain the point. And then proceeded to explain the fucking point.
I want Cooper to explain it in his own way because for me, actually, it was the one part of the whole novel that really kind of struck a chord with me.
I like the bit when they talked about the publishers right at the start. It was really good.
No. His analogy of Schrodinger's cat was just phenomenal.
Well, I'll give you give your listeners the quick version.
Yeah, please do.
take away the actual Schrodinger's cat argument, because there's a lot of problems with it. But the idea is there's a box with a cat in it. And at that moment, the cat can either be alive or dead, because you haven't opened the box to know whether the cat is alive or dead. And so it's a lot about the idea of the binary. There are two options. But what I realized is in non-monogamy, but specifically in approaching people you're interested in, it works with this. So like in Schrodinger's cat, I can open the box and the cat is alive and I get to play with the cat. I can open the box and the cat is dead and I don't get to play with the cat. But what we don't talk about is that third option where I don't open the box and I don't get to play with the cat, which means 2 out of these 3 options lead me to not get to play with the cat. And I'm choosing one of those no's all by myself when I don't go over. So if I walk up to a woman or a man, because I'm bi, so I feel I should add that, and say, hey, I want to fuck you, she could say yes. She could say no. She is unlikely to throw me down and stomp on my balls. It's just not likely. So there are those 2 options, but the third one is I don't approach and ask, which means 2 out of these 3 are bad. And I can improve my odds dramatically by simply walking up to someone and asking. And so that is my weird take on Schrodinger's cat.
It wasn't weird. I loved it. I absolutely related to it so much. And as soon as I heard you talk about it, it's like, that's it. Absolutely, it makes sense to me.
It really does make sense.
It really does.
Unfortunately, our ability to apply the lesson is often,
yes, that's me.
is marred by the fear that goes with life. But
I don't apply the lesson. I'll make it very clear. I totally wanted to approach Mrs. H and get really flirty, but I am intimidated by sexy people with British accents, so I didn't. And so here's what I'm doing right now, which is I'm saying very clearly, no questions asked, I am interested in you. So, maybe in November, I don't have to deal with the whole Schrodinger's cat analogy. You don't have to tell me if you're interested now. We can wait.
Oh my goodness.
On that.
I believe
just telling you.
I believe we shared a kiss in Desire.
Yeah.
I believe you shared about 8.
We shared about 8 kisses.
I recall we were bombing around the pool and one
bombing around the pool.
So
yeah,
on holiday, Mrs. H loves it if I just like hold her in the water and motor her around the pool.
I do.
It's
like that.
It's like I'm a lilo for her. I am the inflatable toy that she can lie on while I do it. And while I was doing this, Coop came up. I was like, "Hey, can I give you a kiss?" To Mrs. H. To be fair, you offered me as well, so that's fine. It was very nice.
Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity.
It's inclusive. Yeah.
So there I am holding my wife while another guy is kissing her. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this for? I was like, I'm just going to put her down in the pool and motor away from this.
I believe, if I recall the scenario correctly, let's get this right. I actually was the one who offered Mr. Cooper a kiss. First.
Mr. Cooper. He's not called Mr. Cooper.
No, I know he's not why I've called him like that. I believe I went up to him and said, could I please share a kiss with you? And
I think you did too, because again, I was dealing with the whole Schrodinger's cat dilemma.
I did. I remember. There you go.
And what worries me is that it was like, Mr. H, move me over to Cooper.
I wish to ask him for her kiss. I think I did have a conversation with you beforehand.
I did in Aladdin.
I did say to you, I'm going to ask Cooper for a kiss. I'm going to ask him.
Bang the drums. Here he comes. You're going to love this guy. So I am
gentle listener, what I can tell you is Cooper has a phenomenal smile.
Oh,
and I was absolutely motoring over there.
You had to motor because you couldn't adjust the speed because someone's carrying you in the pool.
Well, fine.
Anyways.
So,
Coop, what I'm interested in is, before we start wrapping this up, is what are your tips for people who are thinking about jumping into poly? and getting into that. Because you've got some experience here.
Who may be people who think they identify with, I am polyamorous.
Well, so you know how when you start swinging, you have to really kick your communication skills up a notch.
Oh yeah, we know that.
or you may die. Let's just put it that way. You may die if you don't. Well, poly is another notch. You have to get dramatically better at communication, because now you're having communication with your partner of, I think I love that person. And that's a lot more complicated than, hey, I think I want to fuck that person. It's not better, worse. It's just more complex because there are a lot of other emotions that go along with that. So being willing to talk everything through from beginning to end and just put everything out there is key. And you know what? As I've already proven tonight, I don't do what I say. I just know that it's better than what I do. So therefore, you should all do what I say, not what I actually do, because it's not good.
I like to think that you have like a Twitch account on your life, just so that everyone knows what page you're on. Just live broadcasting everything.
It would get boring real quickly. I don't live the life most of our listeners think I live. That's for sure. I mean, to be successful in poly is to know what you want and to know what is important to you. Because you thought swinging was complicated. Well, poly, it's all different levels of interaction and all different levels of communication with a new partner, with their partners, with metamors, with Google Calendar alone is the most complicated thing. But I used to have such problems saying I love you because of a bad early experience in poly. And what I really want everybody to understand in the world is we've all been through a shit year, and all of our skills, our emotional coping, every interaction with other humans has changed. So now let yourself change for the better and be willing to tell people you love them, to tell people you care about them, to actually advocate for yourself and what you want. Because really, we could all die at any time. And
God.
You know, we watch The Stand, or we read The Stand, and we don't think it's going to happen. You know, it's just this fun apocalypse entertainment. But look at 2020. I mean, that's not really even poly advocacy. That's advocacy for being genuine humans.
I think there's a savor the moment piece from this.
Yeah,
and, you know,
carpe diem all over this bitch.
100%. And we've had that from listeners getting in touch to us, kind of going, "Holy fuck, last year was shit. Let's live and let's not kind of look back on the last year."
Moments.
And we look back on 2019. And 2019 was a fucking great year for us, broadly.
I know.
I mean, there was no parent death. That was great. You know, there was no pet death. Great. We went to Australia. We met you. We went to Mexico.
2019 was like what you want 2020 to aspire to.
Yeah, that was like a kick-ass fucking year. But we lived it. And I'm so glad that we did, because had we not done that, I think we'd have gone stir crazy in 2020, because we just couldn't have those adventures and those moments. Yeah. And then parents died and all sorts of shit happened. You know, but what we want to do is actually be able to look back at any time and go that and feel like we've made the most of it and that we've bettered ourselves. And one of my mottos, very similar to what you were talking about, is yesterday I was a wanker. Is and I always feel like, looking back at yesterday, God, I was such a twat. But actually, today I can be better. And, 2020 is the year of being a wanker, because you couldn't do anything. So, if you're in that space where you're thinking about this stuff, or you want to try something, or you want to be brave, it's just there's coming up as this opportunity to do it. And we spoke quite recently. We did a podcast about all this time that we've got while we're locked down as an opportunity to get ready for the time when you're not locked down.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that. I'm like, this is this is great. You can start having these wonderful conversations with your partner if you've got a partner. You can start thinking about this stuff. You can build your profile. You can take some sexy pics. You can start exercise, whatever it is that you want to do to make yourself better. You've got this opportunity to do that because
now's the time.
When that gate or door, whatever fucking metaphor you want, is open, I want every bastard in this fucking world to go out and grab it by the balls and have the best fucking time that they can have. Because we deserve it. We are owed it and we want it. So that's kind of where my head is at.
Yeah.
That was a bit ranty. Apologies.
Right there with you.
So before we close, Coop, I've got to ask you, because you are a man of great taste. Well, you've already said that you like my wife, so that's fine. So you've already passed the test. But I want to know your favorite movie, song, TV show, and book.
Jesus Christ! All right.
Good Lord!
Wow!
Okay.
Great Scott, Marty.
Okay, my favorite movie, Toy Story 3.
Oh! Wow.
Oh, that's a classic.
It is the only perfect movie I've ever seen.
Oh.
And that movie pulled off the best poker bluff I've ever seen in a film.
Did you cry watching that film?
Sob.
I was a wreck.
Without question.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. If I want to be serious guy, it's Shawshank Redemption. But Toy Story 3 is the greatest movie ever made.
Toy Story 3 is the Shawshank Redemption of animated films.
It is.
Lovely
very,
film.
very much so.
Lovely film.
Okay, so favorite movie, favorite song?
Yeah.
Gosh, you're a bastard, aren't you?
This one's tough. Can I give you two?
Yeah, go on then. We'll twist for you.
I Only Have Eyes for You by the Flamingos.
Oh, nice.
And Waiting for My Real Life to Begin by Colin Hay.
I don't know that song, but it's one I'm going to check out now.
We should go and listen to it.
It's one that it was in Scrubs early on. And it really it's a great song. Okay, book.
Oh.
Ultimately, it's probably going to be The Stand.
Okay.
I come back to it more than anything else.
How do you feel about the comic book adaptation that they did of The Stand?
It's pretty good.
It's all right, isn't it?
But then they stopped. Because nobody follows through with Stephen King. It's like he's so long. You got to get the commitment.
Rarely does Stephen King follow through with Stephen King.
That's true. Nobody fucks up an ending like Stephen King.
So I'm still looking at classic cars. Yeah. Still classic cars.
I think what he just tends to do is goes to a Stephen King Rolodex of stuff. What we need is more Americana in this. Do about 20% more than that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yes, the blue chambray shirts, the fingernails making little crescent moons in the hand, and the sodium arc lights. Those are Stephen King-isms. So book, movie, and song. Was there another one?
A TV show.
TV show. It's going to be Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
no matter the shit that we have to go through in season 2, it's all transcendent ultimately. Yeah, without question, Twin Peaks. The Office, if I want to go comedy.
Nice. Some good choices. How do you feel about Carnival?
I loved Carnival.
Carnival's great.
I wish it had continued. Like that was a terrible place to end it. For fuck's sake.
I like Clancy Brown. I do.
Oh, Clancy Brown is amazing.
I do like him.
He's
in pretty Promising Young Woman, and he plays her father. Excellent. And it's the first time I think I've ever seen him play a low key good guy. I've never seen that from Clancy Brown.
He plays bad very well.
He really plays bad very well.
And he voiceovers fantastically as well.
Great voice.
Yeah.
Great voice.
Well, I think that's a marvelous selection for people to go and check out. And I know I'll be checking out some of that shit soon. Coop, it's been fucking amazing having you on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Been lovely.
It's been wonderful here. We clearly needed to catch up, judging by the hour and a half pre-show.
We will meet again. We will meet again, and it'll be amazing.
You'll just find us outside rifling through your bins. No, it happens to everybody. Don't worry about it.
That's fine.
I'm looking forward to the day I meet Cooper again.
Are you?
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm also looking forward to the day that you meet Cooper again.
Wow. Okay.
Cooper, where can people find you, and what resources do you have available for them to download or buy or get in their ears?
You can find me almost everywhere at Cooper S Beckett. That's my website. I'm on all the social media at Cooper S Beckett. If you're not crazy about political rants, stay away from my Twitter. Because
I love your Twitter rants. I love them.
Especially you Americans may know, it's been a difficult time of it lately. So that's my Twitter. If you like horror, I have 2 horror novels, Osgood is Gone and Osgood Riddance, and you can get those at coopersbeckett.com or spectralinspector.com. And the audiobook for the first one just came out. I don't read it because it's the point of view of it's the female lead point of view, and I felt very uncomfortable with the idea of me voicing that.
You could have gone down the Monty Python route of
just do it like Terry Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, basically everything is, at the end of the Life Less Monogamous audiobook, there is a fake chapter where I read everybody in other voices. I do Phil Hartman's Charlton Heston. I do Terry Jones' woman voice. I mean, really, all his women are the same voice.
Which Mr. H does a lot
for one of the main characters. And I mean, I'll never get over. There is an animal named a bomb, or did I dream it?
He's not the Messiah. He's a naughty boy.
He's a very naughty boy. Oh, yes.
When we meet again in Desire, I'm going to have you two act that out.
I think he stopped listening after you said, I'm going to have you two.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can do that, too. I mean, really, how about both of us as Terry Jones doing a woman doing you? Huh?
Oh, so
I mean,
better.
isn't that the most
So
bizarre
better.
proposal ever?
So bizarre.
It's
I'm totally behind that.
Yeah, it wasn't hard knowing this line.
Take it more.
On that note, everybody, Mrs. H, do you want to do your thing?
Yes, but not in that voice.
I'd like to thank you all for hopping in my bed.
Oh my goodness. Well, all right. I mean, you should all check Cooper out. Shush, shush, shush. You should all check Cooper out because literally he has the best voice.
He doesn't have much spam, though, does he?
Oh my God.
So
Anyway.
clearly, like that's affecting you the way my Minnesota voice affects Ginger. Like she cannot take it when I start. Oh yeah, oh you betcha. We got up there. We got some mackerels out of the lake, and then we had a good brunch.
Oh my God.
Oh you betcha.
Oh, I mean, it just sounds pretty good.
Do your thing, wife. Go on, sort it
I
out.
will do a thing. Thank you for hopping into our bed.
I gotta say, watching what you touching your chest while you're talking to me.
I keep doing it. I'm sorry.
It is very distracting.
I know. I keep doing it. I'm sorry. I touch them all the time.
No, don't
I touch them
apologize for it.
such a lot. I just, yeah. You know. I mean, you touch them too if you're here, so that's kind of how I feel.